Hello, everyone. Happy Wednesday. And once again, it's hump day. I am Solid Blue Sister, and this is my turn to talk. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Okay, so let's get started. Today, I am going to talk about a subject that I've been going back and forth in my mind over if I was going to actually do a show about it. And I decided to do a show about it because transgender is in the news a lot. And lately, it's been in the news, with the Olympics. You have some, transgender people who were denied the right to compete because they are transgender. And I do believe in one case, it was because she failed to lower her testosterone levels. And, transgender has been in the news in regards to should transgender females compete on sports teams. And a lot of the concern is because of the, testosterone levels, it would not be fair. And you also have a MMA fighter who fought a transgender MMA fighter who went into the ring with a French woman and beat the French woman. I mean, she won. I don't mean, that the transgender woman beat her up, but the French woman lost. And a lot of people on social media are upset because they thought that it was unfair. And the trans-identified MMA fighter is Elena McLaughlin. And apparently she used a chokehold to defeat opponent Celine Provost in their match on Friday. And the match was actually on September the 10th, 2021 in Miami, Florida. Provost has over a decade of experience in competing in the MMA. Provost is 32 years old. McLaughlin is a 38-year-old Army veteran who spent 6 years serving in the U.S. military as a male. So, welcome.
Sure, I'll be here.
Welcome, Juju, and welcome, Crucible Man. So, my question is, number one, why do transgender people generate so much controversy? And well, let me go with that first. Why do you're welcome, Juju? Why do people who are transgender generate controversy, especially when it comes to sports? So I will start off with that question. So would anyone want to answer that? Or if not, I will keep going. So, and then my other question is, in terms of sports, should transgender male or females be able to compete? I mean, is it fair? I mean, I know that, when you're going through, the whole gender change or whatever, you have to take things that will either lower your testosterone level, or if you're transitioning to a male, you're going to raise those testosterone levels, so you can grow facial hair and you know body hair, whereas when you're transitioning to from a man to a woman, you're taking medication to you know lower your testosterone level. So is it fair that transgender people are told that they cannot compete, or is it fair to let them compete in sports? And Crucible Man, you want to say something? And before we, go on, I just want to say that this is a delicate topic for some people. So again, this is everyone's opinion. So anyone who listens to the show later or whatever, these are people's opinions. We're not bashing anyone. So I'm saying, no bashing anyone, but people do have the right to their opinion, whether you agree with it or not. Okay, Crucible Man, what would you like to say?
Well, I guess I'll tackle the controversy part first. I think controversy rises from a lot of different things, obviously, but I think in this particular case, it's probably, I say probably, and that's mostly speaking for myself, driven by confusion. I think for the longest time, people in general, and obviously I'm generalizing here, I think took a long time to warm up to the gay culture. I think people struggle with it, and I'm not just referring to deeply religious groups. And again, I think it was born out of confusion. How can a man be attracted to another man? How can a woman be attracted to another woman? So I think it took a very, very long time. And anybody who's lived through the 70s and the 80s, and don't ask, don't tell, can attest to the fact that there just was, I think, a great deal of confusion and I guess a subset of that, disdain for people that are different than them, and people who don't really understand the biology and the psychology behind that. And I think that almost doubles for transgender, because I think with transgender, people tend to maybe attribute negative qualities to those people based on their lack of understanding. And I'm certainly not an expert in by any stretch, and I'm not going to pretend to be, but I think from what I've read and from what I understand, the separate men using a women's bathroom and competing in sports, that we can talk about that as well. But I think what drives a lot of the controversy about transgender is, as opposed to strictly gay people, I think people associate maybe some mental instability with transgender, in that they're confused about their identity, they're confused about who they are. And if they're confused about something that basic, what's their general state of mind? And again, I think it's driven largely by a simple lack of understanding.
Okay, but in terms of knowing who you are, that can you can say that about anyone. I mean, come on. When you're in high school, I mean, most people who are in high school, they're immature. They're trying to find out who they are. So whether you're trans or not, I think everyone at some point in their life goes through, who am I? What place do I have in this world? So you can, that comment could be directed towards anyone.
I agree with you, but I think the difference between people going through normal growing pains in their adolescent years, like we all do and did, I think this confusion goes to almost like a genetic level. It's not simply I'm socially awkward, or I can't talk to girls, or I can't talk to boys, kind of a thing. I think this gets down to a foundational genetic level that it just kind of eludes people in terms of they're not judging transgender people very harshly. First of all, today almost everybody, and I'm generalizing broadly, probably knows a gay person and may know several and know them very well and consider them to be friends. I would say the percentage of people who would count a transgender in that category would drop off to probably single digits. And I think that is, again, contributing to people's confusion and lack of understanding.
Okay. All right. Shy lady, you wanted to make a
No, I
comment?
just wanted to join in and be able to make a comment when needed. But hey,
Oh,
everybody.
okay. All right. Hello, OJ28. So, hello, OJ, Shy Lady, Sharon, Juju, and Crucible Man. Welcome, everyone. Okay, so Crucible Man, you made some good points, or I'll say some interesting points. I don't know if everyone would necessarily agree, but my question now goes to what I asked before: should transgender people, male or female, be allowed to compete in sports, or should they, or like in the case of, for the Olympics, they were like no. So, what do you think? Does anyone have a comment for that one?
I say no.
Okay, and Shy Lady, why do you say no?
Just for the fact that women and men have different um, biological cells and body 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 arrangements is totally different. The testosterone that exists in males give them a greater advantage over women. I know that there are some people out there that say, oh, there's hormones to reduce the level of testosterone in order for them to be able to compete. I still don't think it's fair. I still think it's like comparing apples to oranges. It's not biologically the same. The hormones are all different. They're all different, and using
So,
a
okay, so even if you go through the whole process, you go through the entire process and you are officially a male or officially a female, you think that those hormones and the cells and stuff are still there.
absolutely,
Okay.
absolutely, absolutely, I do. If you have to take hormones to um, have a softer look, it's not natural, and I think that there is still an advantage in a male, biological male, competing against a biological female. It's still an advantage to me. That's,
Okay, so are you familiar with the MMA fight that happened in Florida on September 10th?
yes,
Okay, so do you think that it's unfair that Elena McLaughlin won? She used to be in special forces with the army, and Celine Provost, who is French, 32 years old. She's been competing since she's been competing for the last 10 years, and one way that Elena McLaughlin was able to defeat Celine Provost was by using a chokehold. So, do you think that, and when she was in the army, when Elena McLaughlin was in the army, she was male. So, do you think that that fight, number one, never should have happened? Number two, Celine Provost should have just said, I'm not going to fight. I mean, was it fair? I mean, would it have been different if Elena McLaughlin was a woman who was in the special forces and used a chokehold? Would she still have won? Or did she have the advantage because she used to be a male and she has those cells and hormones that you're talking about?
I think that the French woman Provost should not have competed, and I think it was still an unfair advantage. I don't know if the Elena McLaughlin Special Forces training was just all men. I'm not sure, because I do know that in any kind of training, if weights are involved, the weights are going to be heavier. The endurance may be heavier. It's the same thing. Like some women are wanting to compete in football. There was a woman, a high school kid, I believe, recently was the first female in high school to score a touchdown. And yeah, those players out there that she's competing with are males. But if you have too many males tackle you as a woman, you're really, if you continue to play football, you're really going to suffer some disadvantages because they are just physically stronger, period. And that's why you don't see women in the NFL. They cannot compete with 345-pound linebackers. They cannot. They cannot compete with, I don't care if a woman is 250, you're not going to be able to compete with a man on that level. And like I said, even if you take hormones, it's not a natural process. It's still a disadvantage for a biological female to compete against a biological male, whether or not they take hormones, in my opinion.
Okay. Does anyone have anything that they want to comment to what Shy Lady says? She makes some very valid points. Does anyone want to comment on that? Okay. OJ is saying that he totally agrees with Shy Lady. All right. Crucible Man, you usually have something to say. Did you want to comment on what Shy Lady said? You have the mic.
Yes, I did. Yeah, I agree with Shy Lady. I mean, I think from what I understand of the topic, and it isn't particularly deep, that even though you change the packaging on a hormonal level, she's absolutely right. You are competing against, a biological female is competing against a biological male. And I do think that they are inherently inferior physically. I want to make sure I emphasize the physical part of it. And she's right. You can be 250 pounds and you're still going to get your you-know-what handed to you if you get hit by a man who's 250 pounds. It's just not only are the physical characteristics differently, but men have a much more aggressive nature, I believe. Now, I don't know if hormones influence that as well as the physical with biological women who are transitioning to a man. But I know women typically have a different, psychological profile than men do. I think that's probably been medically verified. So I think on a couple different levels, you really are comparing apples to oranges.
All right. So then my next question is, this is a YouTube video that was sent to me by Shy Lady. And thank you. And if you guys get a chance to see this, if you go on YouTube, I wish I still had, when I was on my other platform, I was able to show video and what have you. But basically, the title is, hold on, let me get that for you again. And I don't have the title anymore. I apologize. Basically, transgender women. Shy Lady, can you give me the title of that YouTube video? Because it was a very interesting video.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, let me see if I can locate that really quickly.
All right, because it was really interesting, and basically what it was is they were saying that transgender women wanted to date straight men. So I have a question about that, and the video starts off with where a transgender woman was upset because the person who she was dating or had hooked up with found out that she was transgender and he didn't want to date her anymore. And then there's a comment from another woman who is a heterosexual woman, saying that she saw this guy who she thought was absolutely beautiful, gorgeous, whatever. We've called men beautiful and gorgeous before, and she found out later that he was trans. Okay, Shy Lady says, "Why are trans women trying to get with straight men?" Okay, that is so. If you go on YouTube, why are trans women trying to get with straight men? And when I was listening to the video, it was very interesting. It was interesting where it seemed like that the transgender people wanted um, straight people to accept them, but they were having a problem with if straight people didn't want to get with them. So it's like you have to accept me, but I have a problem, you know, uh, if you choose not to accept me. So does that make sense? So does anyone have a comment on that with, transgender people dating straight men or women? Do you think that they should out themselves or let the person know ahead of time that they are transgender? And should they get upset if the person finds out, that they are transgender and they choose not to continue in the relationship? So, does anyone want to answer that one? Shy Lady, Crucible Man, OJ, would you like to make a
I,
comment?
I'll
I'm
make a
sorry, Shy Lady,
comment.
go ahead.
I'm sorry. I would just want to say this. I think that if a man that's straight wants a biological woman, that's his preference. It's just like if a man prefers a redhead over a brunette, or if a man prefers a tall woman versus a short woman, that is his preference. If he wants to date a woman that's biological, who are they to say it's not right? I don't get that. It sounds just as biased to me as someone saying that they're homophobic. It just doesn't make any sense. It's a person's preference. Is what they want. How can
No,
you?
and no, you are absolutely right, and you can't get upset if I prefer, not to, be with you because you're one way as opposed to another way, or like you said, you're a redhead as opposed, to a brunette. I mean, people like what they like. So, my question is, after I saw this video, and I actually watched it twice, and then I was reading some of the comments, and the comments were even interesting, because it just seems like to me, and this is just my opinion, that in the transgender and gay world, and again, this is just my opinion, that we're expected to be accepting, but it's not the other way around. Um, I made a comment on another person's show. This was months ago, and somehow or another, transgender came up. I'm not sure how it came up, but I made the comment that God made man and God made woman, and I believe in the Bible. And that is what I believe. I believe that God made man and God made woman. And uh, the Bible says, that man will lie with woman, and woman will lie with man. I believe that. And I was just torn apart. And this is something I put in the chat. Okay. And I was just torn apart. And then, weeks later, people were, coming after me on the same show. And I'm like, I couldn't even remember what I had said or the whole thing. And they're like, you owe the transgender community an apology. And I'm like, what are they talking about? And then when they reminded me, I was like, really? Because I believe in the Bible. So I can't have an opinion. So I don't know. I just see that once again, we have certain groups that want, people to be open minded for them, but they don't want to be open minded to other people. And then I was also told from some of these same people, and this is the line that I absolutely hate, is they said to me, as a black woman, you should. I should what? That yes, I am aware, that as a black woman, I know what it's like for, people to look down on you and what have you. I understand that. But don't use my color against me because I have an opinion. So I don't know. Does anyone have OJ says what? All right. So does anyone have, a comment on what I just said, or just they want a comment, period? No? Okay. I will keep going. So with okay, yes, you have an opinion. Okay. Or comment. Crucible Man, you have the mic. Hello? You have the mic, Crucible Man, if you want to say something. Okay, you're not coming through, so I'm going to keep going. All right, so I cannot hear you. Can anyone else hear Crucible Man? Because I cannot hear you. Okay, give you another invite. Okay, everyone's saying no.
Hello?
Okay, now we can hear you.
Okay. Yeah, I agree with you regarding the acceptance part. I think that might be part of what drives some of the distaste or dislike of transgender people. And I think to a limited extent, maybe even gay people, because I think from the outside looking in, and most people have a 40,000, including myself, have a 40,000 foot view of this topic because we don't know a lot of transgender people and we don't claim to know how they tick. But I think in general, and this is a broad generalization, I think they're perceived as a group of people who demand tolerance and acceptance, but aren't as willing to extend tolerance and acceptance to other groups. And they make what I would consider maybe selfish demands. Because I'm this way, I demand that you understand me. I demand that you accept me. I demand that you let me behave how I want to behave. And if you don't, you're a bigot. And I think people genuinely struggle with that kind of a label over something that I think is perfectly understandable to be confused about or distasteful.
Okay. All right. Does anyone want to make a comment to that? Does anyone want to respond to what Crucible Man just said?
I want to comment. I totally agree with him. And it's all getting very confusing because I know I was talking to my daughter a few months ago and she was part of a group discussion and she accidentally called someone a she. And they immediately said, "Oh, did you get the email? I don't go by she. I am they, them, we, or whatever." And it's like, how am I supposed to know that that's what you prefer? And it's like, it's so confusing and it's odd and just crazy.
Well, you're absolutely right, because when we recently took my son back to school, one of the forms he had to fill out was, which pronoun do you go by? And he's looking at me, and he's like, do I seriously have to fill this out? I said, well, I don't know if you have to, but you may want to, whatever. So I mean, the whole thing that we're dealing with, the whole pronoun thing, I think it has gone a little bit too far. The they, the them, the he, the she, you know, um, him, her, you know, um, you know, I mean, it's just gotten to a point to me of just being ridiculous. I think that's, for me personally, I think that that's taking it too far. OJ, you wanted to say something.
Yeah. Hi.
Hello,
So
OJ.
what I'm Hi. So what I'm trying to say is, like, in India, what we have this transgenders, and this entire community is highly is protected by the cops. And don't ask me why or how, but they are. What
Okay, I'm
happens
sorry.
is,
I'm sorry. You're confusing me. So you're saying in India, transgender people are protected by the cops, or they're not protected by the police?
they are.
Okay.
They are, and just because they are protected by the cops, a common man, a man or a woman, they they're scared of them. Usually, I think it is the tradition here. I do not know, but usually, when a baby is born in a family, these people, they get the information from the hospital. This is how the modus operandi it works. They get the information from the hospital, and this whole bunch of them, probably five six of them, and these people are huge compared to the Indian film, this physique and this thing. These guys are huge, and they will come to the house, and would demand money. Okay, and if it is a boy, then more money. If it is a girl, less money. But then you have to pay. And in case a family refuses to pay, they'll create nuisance, nuisance in their house. I
Oh,
mean,
okay. Oh,
they'll
okay.
yeah, okay, and then if the moment they start creating nuisance, and if the family calls up the cops, and the cops get to know this is what has happened, they said, okay, this matter is between you and them. You all settle it. We will not step in. And at times, these transgenders, they go to the extent and say, you want to call the cops, go and call the cops, let's see. So this is the
You
kind of attitude and arrogance these people have.
you make a very interesting point. Would anyone like to respond to what OJ said? I mean, he is making some interesting points.
Well, I think that they're definitely making strides here in America. I mean, with this whole bathroom situation, these men who want to come into the restroom because they're transgender, and I have read. I mean, I don't know how true it is, but some cases may be true. But I have read online, like on Reddit, where people have actually stated that there are people who say that they're transgender, but they're really not, and they use that to get into these women locker rooms at like the fitness clubs in order to spy on young girls and women, and they use that, and sometimes they're even straight, but they pretend that they're transgender so they can get access to these restrooms, and I think that or locker rooms. And I think that it's really a sad situation because you don't know what's in the mind of people. There are some people that are sick out there, and you really don't know what their ulterior motive is. And so, for us as a nation to go along with this, there's got to be some there got to be some question, some answers to some questions that nobody's willing to confront.
Okay, so Shelley, I'm gonna play both sides here. So you have what you said. You made a good point, but couldn't that also just apply to just regular everyday straight people that you don't know you could have a little boy going into the boys' bathroom. I'm into the men's bathroom, and you can have a straight man in there, and you don't know what could happen. I mean, how many of us have sons, and up until they were old enough to where you were comfortable for them to go into the bathroom by themselves, you're dragging them into the women's bathroom with you so they can use the bathroom. So I mean, just playing devil's advocate, you
No,
can.
I'm talking about something specific where, for instance, at the gym that I go to, there's a sign right when you get to the locker room that says no male children in the women's locker room under 2 years of age. That's what it says on there. So, say for instance, this locker room has a transgender, a man who says he's now a woman, so he calls himself a trans woman. You don't know. You're talking about a grown person. You don't know what's in this person's mind if they're actually there spying on little girls because there's little girls in there with their moms changing their clothes. You don't know. I have read on Reddit that there is a person, I forget their name, but there's a person who goes online and actually brag and even show their face and actually brag and state that they are uh, that they pretend to be trans and they actually think it's funny going into these locker rooms and around women and they spy on them. That there's some sick people out there that are actually doing that.
So how do you stop that? I mean, how do
You
you
don't allow it in the first place.
Okay, all right.
If there are restrooms in some restaurants where they call them family restrooms. um, you can go in there. They have them even in the health club that I go to. There are some restrooms. There's locker rooms where you can go into the family changing area. You don't have to be in the all women locker room. You can go to the family changing area where male and female children are in there with their parents, and they have these really big, huge bathrooms where they can go and change their clothes. People wait in line to go in there with their families, and they're huge. They have showers in there, and you can go in there with your children. If you're a mom with two little boys or whatever, you can go in there with your children, shower, you all can change clothes. That's where they should be, in my
But
opinion.
but when you say that you should not allow it in the first place, if you have a trans male or female who um, looks like, I mean, they have a male who transition to a woman, and they look like a woman, and you have a male, like Chaz Bono. I mean, if I didn't know who Chaz Bono was before, I would think that Chaz Bono was born a man. So how do you know? How are you still going to know if this person is or is not a trans coming into the male or female bathroom?
It's a good point. You don't know, especially that there are some that look totally of the opposite sex. You don't really know, and it is difficult to tell. But I know that for in my locker room, there are women in there, and they look like men. You almost have to do a double take sometimes. I'm washing my hands at the sink, and I look up, and there's a woman. I almost thought it was a man, but obviously they are born a woman because they're in that locker room. But the hair is cut like a man's. The face is very square and hard like a man, dressed like a man. You can only very lightly tell by the chest that it's a woman. Very lightly.
Interesting point. Does anyone want to respond to Shy Lady? Hello, by the way. Hello, Chemist, and hello, Feisty One. So, you know, you guys are making some really good points. I'll be interested to see that. Usually, when my shows are posting on Twitter, um, my DMs, for certain shows, they tend to people tend to express their opinions. But anyway, does anyone have anything that they, want to respond to Shy Lady or make any other points? Because I will say that I do believe that washrooms should, or restrooms rather, should continue to be male going male, female going female, and like Shy Lady said, then you have a family bathroom. And I do believe the family bathroom started not so much because of transgender, but I think it was just the fact that changing baby diapers, and the fact that we are dragging, women are dragging their male children into the ladies' bathroom with us, because I know my son had to go into the bathroom with me many, 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 many times. So, uh, Crucible Man, you have a question. Okay, you have the mic.
I was curious. I don't know the answer to this. That's why I'm asking. When a person decides they're going to transition to wherever they're going to transition to, are they forced to undergo some kind of a psychological evaluation or some kind of a I don't know what the right term would be, a period where they're forced to evaluate, by a licensed professional, to make sure that, given the permanence of the transition, do they require them to undergo any kind of psychological evaluation or any kind of a profiling to say, based on your answers to these questions, we don't feel you've adequately processed this or you've adequately, evaluated it. As if they don't do that, I think that should be a required part of the transition process before people make very rash and very permanent life decisions.
Well, I don't. Well, force is a very forceful word, excuse the pun. But I do believe that there is a certain amount of uh, psychological evaluation that you have to have, that you have to do that. And then after that process is over, and if I'm correct, I want to say that process lasts like for 6 months to a year. And then and then when you start the transitioning process with your hormones and what have you, that could take about a year. So by the time you transition from A to B, it could be a 3-year process. But I do believe that I don't want to say forced, but I would think that before a medical professional would agree to move forward, there has to be some type of psychological evaluation, because it is a very big decision that that someone's making. So the only thing that I say, and this is where I have a problem. I have a problem. I mean, you can live however you want to. That's your business. Again, I believe in the Bible. God made man and God made woman. But I strongly believe that if you want to transition to a male or female, you should do it, either after the age of 18 or even 21. I don't believe that you should be allowed to do it when you are 18. Because again, as we were talking earlier in the show, you go through your growing pains. I mean, you're still, trying to figure out, is somebody going to ask me to prom? If I ask that girl to prom, is he going to, is she going to say yes or no? Or whatever. There's so many things that are going on when you're a teenager. So I would say that if you want to do it, more power to you. But you should do it either after the age of 18 or preferably after the age of 21, because it is a permanent decision, and it is a life changing decision, not only just for you, but also for your family, and for your friends. You know, um, and that's with anything that we do, the decisions that we make, potentially affect our family. So I don't know. Does anyone want to agree with me, disagree with me? Or Kim says, I have an in-law who's transgender and they didn't have to go through any psych evaluation. Wow. Wow. Can I ask what state they are in? And don't say California. Georgia. Interesting. Interesting. Um, do you think a psych evaluation should have been uh, necessary or required? Okay. But do you think a psych evaluation should have been required, or this is something they've been talking about for like years or something? So that is interesting. So I want to put it out there because Kim is for certain ages, yes. So you don't think that someone who's 40 should go through a psych evaluation compared to someone who's maybe 22? Nope. Okay. Can I ask why? I mean, wouldn't do you think that the 40-year-old is more um mature? And that's a question that I would, open up to other people. You're an adult, your decisions are your decisions. Okay. All right. So that's another question that I have then. As a relative, as a family member, or even as a friend to someone who wants to transition, um, how would it affect you? Do you think that you would be accepting of it, or do you think that you would, be like some people where they, they disown you? Don't ever, I don't want to see you again. You're no longer part of the family. Would you be one of those people? For me, if my son were to come home one day and say it says that he wants to transition to a female, I would be shocked. I would be disappointed. Would I disown him? No. Would I still love him? Of course. But I will admit it would be hard. It's something that would be hard for me um, uh, to wrap my head around. Okay, and Kim says it doesn't bother me. He's been the same since he was a kid. Okay, all right, all right. So this is something that you kind of expected. Okay, all right. So does anyone else want to comment on what I just said or what Kim is saying? Crucible man, yes, you have the mic.
Yeah, I think I just lost my train of thought. Sorry about that. It'll come to me.
All right. So we were talking about how relatives would react.
Right. Okay. Thank you. Yeah, I think it would depend on the relationship. If it were my child or my sibling, somebody who was a blood relative, then yeah, I think everything you just said would be my attitude as well. I would be disappointed. I would be shocked. I would be all those things. But again, if it were just a friend of mine or an acquaintance, I'm going to go full disclosure here and say I would certainly struggle with maintaining that relationship, because now suddenly, as much as that person would want to believe and have everybody else believe, I'm the same person. I've changed my hormones. I've changed the physiological makeup of my person, but I'm still the same person you knew before. I'm not a doctor, but I would strongly challenge that assertion, because I don't think it's quite that simple. So would you be friends with this? Are you friends with the same person anymore? Or by that transition process, has that person made other fundamental changes in their personality that they either aren't aware of or don't want to admit to, because in their minds, and as far as their friends and family are concerned, I'm the same Joe Blow I was yesterday. So yeah, I would struggle with it for sure.
But can't you still say the same thing about if it was your sister or brother or whatever? That is this the same sister I grew up with? Is this the same brother that I grew up with? Because wouldn't they still be the same person? Maybe not physically, but emotionally and spirit, whatever. This is the person that you grew up with.
Well, I think the process or decision to go through a transition from whatever to whatever, I think is an emotional decision. And I think that's what drives a lot of the behavior. I agree with OJ earlier. We do have a group of people, and I might have mentioned it at the beginning, who I believe are a little bit less tolerant than they should be. I think they are a little bit entitled, and I think they want everybody to just simply accept whatever changes happen in their lives and not really question it. And I think something like that, it's one thing if somebody decided that they, halfway through their life, they weren't attracted to women anymore, they were attracted to men. Now I think that person is probably the same person. I don't know that there's necessarily an emotional component to making that decision. So I think the whole concept of transgender and why people struggle with it is because it is driven by emotion, I think. So I don't know that fundamentally or foundationally, once you've transitioned from a woman to a man or vice versa, that you are inherently the same person anymore. But I would make a more concerted effort if it were a family member for obvious reasons than if it was more of a casual acquaintance.
Okay. All right. That's a fair statement. Does anybody want to comment on what Crucible Man just said? Apostle L. Clin entered the. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm looking at. I'm sorry. Well, welcome, Apostle. I'm sorry. I'm thinking that Kim was typing. So, welcome. You make a very interesting point. But my question would still be, if you are transgender. Okay, let's go like this. I am a woman, and I believe that, I believe what I believe. Okay. You may have known me for years. You may have been my sibling growing up with me, whatever. I am who I am. If I become a man tomorrow, I transition into a man, wouldn't I still be the same person? I'm still going to believe what I believe. I'm still going to inherently be the same person, just my outside's going to be different. Okay, and Kimma says that's a stereotype saying they are entitled. Not all trans people take on that attitude. Okay, all right. So I'm assuming you're referring to what Crucible Man said, Kimmis. So I ask, just because your outside is different, wouldn't that person still be the same person? Crucible Man, were you about to say something?
Yes, I think it goes back to what I said a little bit earlier. And whether it's true or not, I can't speak to it because I'm not a psychologist. I don't know any transgender people, and I doubt I ever will. But I think you do. I think you can't. I think the stability component, and again, I don't know if it's true or not, or if it's just my perception as far as why transgenders can be controversial or people are uncomfortable with it. I think when you're making a decision that is that fundamentally transformative, fair or not, I would question why somebody would want to upend their life so significantly and make so many wholesale changes as to fundamentally change their personhood. I think it goes to people questioning, are you of sound mind? And again, I'm not saying that's fair, and I'm not saying that's right, I think it's part of why people struggle with transgenders.
I agree. Well, when you say if someone wants to upend their life, I mean, apparently something was going on with them that made them want to change to a male or female. And I go back to Chaz Bono, where he says, growing up, when, his parents were, dressing him up in these cute little dresses and stuff as Chastity Bono, you know, she was Chaz, in her head, when she was little. Then you look at Angelina Jolie and Brad Pitt's daughter, Shiloh. When she's like 9 years old, she wants to, cut her hair off, and she wants to, dress like a boy, and she wants to hang out with her brothers. Is she going to be someone when she gets older? Is she going to be someone that transitions? So I don't know if you can say that, they're not in their right mind. I mean, are there people who believe when they're younger that they should always have been a male or they should always have been female? I mean, uh, you have people who are like that. So to say that they're not in their right mind, then I don't know. Yes, you can. I will send you an invite. Did you want to come on and speak, or did you want to chat? I'll send you an invite anyway, Apostle. And Crucible Man, I'm going to mute you. Okay, so Apostle, I am waiting for you. All right, so I think he just dropped off. Okay, so Allison Maid is here. Welcome towards the end of the show. Welcome. All right, so to Crucible Man, I would say, what about those people who are extremists, who one day they decide, I'm going to wake up one day and I'm going to join the Taliban, and I'm going to start blowing things up? Would that be the same as somebody waking up one day and deciding that they want to be transgender? You have the mic, Crucible Man.
That's a tough one. I mean, I agree with you. You made a good point as far as if somebody believes from the time they were born that they're simply trapped in the wrong body, and they've believed it for their whole life, and this is something that they feel they can't be their true self by staying a man or staying a woman. I'm guessing that that's probably a lifetime process. I don't know what triggers people to join, terrorist groups or revolutionary groups or, Taliban or whatever. Usually there's some event that takes place in their life that, triggers something or other. So I don't know the answer to that, but I think people have epiphanies at all kinds of junctures in their lives that signal a fundamental shift in behavior and in thinking. And I'm guessing that the Taliban, maybe it's the same process. It's something that takes place over time that you've been thinking about, not quite ready to take the plunge. And then one day, maybe an event takes place or something happens in your life and you're suddenly a true believer and there's no looking back. So I do think there's some parallels there. Yes.
Okay, so I have one last question that I would like to put out to anyone who would like to answer it. You have a population, a very small population, but a population nonetheless, where when they are born with both body parts, male and female, and parents make the decision if they are going to have a son or a daughter. So let's say that you had a child that was born this way, and you made the decision that you were going to have a daughter. But along the way, you saw signs, or they were saying, they want to play with GI Joe with the kung fu grip and what have you. They don't want to be a girl, and they want to, you know, they want to be a boy. Um, is that the same to you? Is that the same as someone who just wants, who just want to transition to another gender? Like, is that more accepting that they want to change from a girl to a boy, uh, and they were born with both body parts? So hopefully I'm making sense here. Does anyone understand what I'm saying?
I understand what you're saying. I actually went to college with um, a woman who was born with both. This was in the early 80s. And on the outside, physically, she looked like a male, but she had a strong face and tall and thin, taller than the average woman, maybe like 6 feet. And the voice was deeper. And this was not popular to be like this back then. Now it's like a trend. It's talked about all the time. And from what I was told, she had chosen to be a woman, was born with testicles and ovaries. I don't know if they had a penis, but I was told that she was born with testicle and ovaries, and so she chose to be a woman. Nobody bothered her or anything like that, or made fun of her, from what I
But she
remember.
was, but what was the choice that her parents made? I mean, did they switch it when she was born, or she just lived this way until she made the choice?
I'm not sure because, like I said, I wasn't friends with her. I used to see her on campus all the time, and of course, people would say something like, "Is that a male or a woman?" But she dressed like a woman, dresses and things like that, and she had a woman name. So I'm assuming that she
Okay,
was raised as a woman.
all right.
But I think that's different when you have that situation. I want to add this too because I didn't get a chance to say this, and I know we're like running out of time. But I want to say that I think that this whole transgender thing and people wanting to, this is just my opinion, not a doctor or anything like that. I don't see transgender any different from somebody who wants to say that they are another race and they were born a different race. I don't see any difference in that. I think it's hypocritical for a person to say, "Oh, I'm transgender. You need to accept me because this is who I feel that I should have been born." Whereas, like for instance, Rachel Dolezal, who I'm sure you're familiar with her, who was born a white woman, and she feel in her mind that she's black.
Right.
So how is she any different from a person who feels that they were born in the wrong body? I don't see any difference in her mind thinking that she should have been born black because that's what she always felt who she was. Is there something mentally or psychologically wrong with that person not accepting how they were born? So if a person wants to say, well, that's different, um, but transgender is different from that, it's not any different. To me, it's still a mental issue. It's a psychological issue that, in my opinion, is not normal. You
Oh,
can't accept the way you were born. You're saying that God made a mistake. You can't accept how you came into this world. As they say, how you were assigned. You don't want to accept it. So you're choosing on your own to be who you think you need to be. My
okay. And that being born with two, with male and female organisms, or organs rather, is a herm is a hermaphrodite. I hope I pronounced that correctly. I probably didn't. I'll put it in the chat. Okay, so Chemist is asking. I'm pretty sure he's asking you, shy lady. So you're uncomfortable with homosexuality? Are you uncomfortable with homosexuality?
Absolutely not. I have a to a woman. I'm not uncomfortable with homosexuality at all. Not at all. Like I said, I have family members, several, who are in relationship with same sex people. So I'm not uncomfortable with it at all.
Okay, so wouldn't that be going against God?
Yes, that is, but I'm not here to judge. That's for God to judge them,
Okay,
not for me.
all right. Well, I will say, and again, I will come back to saying, what I've always said is I believe in the Bible. Um, um, God made us who we are. He made us the sex we are. He made us the color we are. How tall we are, how short we are going to be. I do believe that we are His creation. Um, and and people who go and get you know Botox and you know collagen and breast implants and whatever. um, I personally look at you messing with God's canvas. I mean, He made us who we are. um, and I personally don't think that you should change it. In the end, people are going to do what they want to do. But I do believe that when it comes to transgender, if you do decide to transition, you should do it when you're older. I think you should do it probably at the age of 21. Um, and you should not be allowed to do it when you are in your teens, and definitely not when you're a child. But that's my own personal opinion. So, does anyone else want to make another comment before we close out the show? This has been a very interesting show. Uh, Everyone, you guys are my regulars, and everyone has a different opinion, but they agree in some things, and it's interesting to see what some of you surprise me at some of the things that that you say, or some things that that you accept or agree with. But this is why I like doing this show. This is why I like doing some of the topics that that I do, because I truly enjoy and want people to have a platform, to say, what they want to say. So to that, everyone, I do say thank you. Truthful Man says this was a good one. All right. So does anyone else have anything else that they would like to add? Thank you, Shy Lady. Okay. Oh, OJ, what did you want to add? Hold on. You have the mic.
Yeah. See, for me, I'm happy to hear like you're Christian, and you're talking about God's creation. Taking a cue from that, even if you see the birds or animals or fish, everyone, their opposite sex, this partner, and that is what is this natural. But for us, because we human beings, we are educated, and we're knowledgeable, and we know things. So we tend to make this choice, and which is I my in my opinion, which is a wrong choice of our homosexuality.
Oh, okay. All right. And Alice the Maid, you wanted to say something? Okay, I sent you an invite. Won't true penguins and other animals choose the same sex often? Not true. All right. Okay, Alice, can you come on before we end the show? I sent you an invite. I'll send you another one. There should be a microphone. There you are. Okay.
Can you all hear me?
Yes, yes.
Hi, everybody.
Hello, Alice.
You know, hermaphrodites, they used to call, what's her name? Jamie, whatever her name was. They used to call her a hermaphrodite. Come to find out she was not. That's something genetic you cannot help. They have XXY or XYY. I don't even remember how they get all scrambled up. And then your parents have to make a choice. But apparently that wasn't true of her, but I'm just using her as a point that people might have heard of before. I don't know if we're being fooled or not, but I have also heard tales of animals in the wild who are homosexual.
I have heard that before. I do know there are some animals um, that are homosexual. So yes, yes.
Now, I wouldn't, you know how I feel about this. I wouldn't condone marriage for anybody in the first place. And I've been married 20 something years. But in the eyes of God, I can't imagine that the way you have sex or how you exhibit your animalistic or whatever tendency, I don't know how to say it, that he would have any more anger towards you than anyone else. And I don't think that's actually in the Bible anywhere. And that's my opinion.
Okay, all right. Does anyone want to respond to Alice? All right. Well, guys, again, thank you so much for this. Has been a really, again, this has been a really good show, and I thank everyone for participating. Whether you participate in chat or you come on and you speak, or if you just want to listen, I really appreciate it. Alice, no need to be sorry. You made your you wanted to voice your opinion, and you did, and I have no problem with it. So as long as people are being respectful, and I am cool. So again, everyone, we went over, but thank you so much. Tomorrow, um, I can't remember what the topic is for tomorrow, but it is posted. Thank you, everyone. I'm Solid Blue Sister. This is my turn to talk. Speak your truth like everyone does on this show. And have a great day. And I will see you next time. Bye. I really enjoyed this show. And Alice, you're going to have to start coming on at the top of the hour. 1 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. Okay, so try to come on because I know you have a lot to say. you're midday, so you must be on the East Coast. And Chemist, thank you. I have to look at what my topic is for tomorrow. What is my topic for tomorrow? Oh, liking each other versus understanding each other. That is the topic for tomorrow. Liking each other versus understanding each other. And there is a difference. There is a difference. No problem. I have a lot to say. I just can't get excited in this line. No problem. Chemist, you still make me laugh. So thank you. And OJ, thank you very much for your input. Thank you. And Crucible Man, you always have something to say. Always. So that's it, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon. Have a good one. I feel good people here. Yes, there are. Okay, bye, everyone.